Hey, Service Advisor Nation. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast with your host, Michael Doherty. Hopefully, you're taking care of yourselves and your coworkers and your clients and everybody because it's your job. No, seriously, hope you're all doing good, guys and gals. So, today I wanted to talk about we're going to talk about the word grow, G.R.O.W. Getting rid of old ways. A lot of shops that I've spoke to lately are kind of still stuck in I'm not going to call it Stone Ages, but I think they're just scared to change, scared of technology. And you know what? I was too. I was so used to using the same point of sale system for, almost a decade. And then one day they said, "Hey, Michael, we're gonna change this. We're gonna go to this new software platform. It's gonna be great. There's gonna be digital vehicle inspections. You can use your phone to put pictures on there. You can update clients, and it's new technology." And I was like, okay, yeah, sure." And like, I was frightened. I was frightened because I'm so used to doing it a certain way, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like how's this gonna work?" And it worked out great. It worked out great. So, again, I think there's a lot of shops that are using old methods, or maybe the methods have just been working and they're okay with the results that they're getting. And I don't think they know that there's new ways out there to still, do business and do it better, make it more efficient, make it more fun, just again, improve things along the line of just doing the same thing and getting the same result. So this episode is called, again, G.R.O.W, getting rid of old ways. So, for you guys and gals out there in service advisor land, right? Raise your hand if you've heard this, right? We don't need that new system. We've always done it this way, right? And yeah, no one's actually raising their hand because they're too busy, rolling their eyes. So, let's break it down. Sticking to the old ways, right? I mean, feel safe. I felt safe again with that point of sale system that we had for 10 plus years. I mastered it. I was the man at it. And then they said, "Hey, we're going to change it up." And I was like, "Crap." But again, let's break it down. Sticking to the old ways, feel safe until, right, it costs you your time, money, good people, and good customers, right? So, quick fact, according to the Automotive Management Network, shops that modernize just one process, like digital inspections, can increase average repair orders by up to 20%. And again, part of that DVI technology was incorporated into the point of sale system that we moved to. And before that, literally it was, a sheet of paper, it was the outline of a vehicle, and the technician would write on it, radiator leaking, engineer filter dirty. And this, you know, piece of paper, started off pretty clean. And by the time I got it back, maybe, it it went through the oil change process too, it was disgusting. It was smeared. I couldn't make out some of the writing. There's pieces missing. I'd have to go back to the technician, "Hey, this thing that you just handed back to me, could you tell me what this says, or do you know what this is?" Or, so again, I'm used to the old school methods, right? But again, clinging to old habits, right, isn't just annoying. It's expensive, right? It can cost you, again, it can cost you your time, your money, and, customers. So here we go. So, handwritten ROs and sticky notes, right? We're just talking about that. So, if your workflow still depends on, we'll call it finding Bob's sticky note on the counter, you're not running a shop. You're running a scavenger hunt. Yeah, I'm pretty notorious for sticky notes. When I worked at the shop, I had two monitors. Each monitor was kind of outlined with sticky notes, just things, some of them were passwords, not for anything critical, but call this person back, write this down, do this. And, I probably burned up a sticky notepad probably one a week. So, truth be told, that was me. That's how I did it for the most part. Shame on me, right? But, the solution, right? Embrace your shop management system. Use digital inspections. Make work visible. If you can't track it, you can't fix it. And I can't say that enough again, right? Make work visible. If you can't track it, you can't fix it, right? Also, I've talked about, shops having a morning huddle. Some shops, right, still treat the day like it's a free for all. Techs show up, the service advisors guess, chaos rules, right? Not a good business model. 5 or 10 minutes of a daily huddle in the morning saves 50 minutes of confusion later. Again, super important to have that huddle in the morning, right? Make time for it. Share who's doing what, right? Big jobs, little jobs, holdups, part status, and that'll help reduce comebacks, and it will uplift shop culture, right? Very important to have those morning meetings. And communication, right? So the old way, right? We wait for the customer to call us for an update. I hope not a lot of shops are doing that. I hope no one's doing that. But again, as a service advisor, if customer has to call you for an update, I feel that, we have failed. It's our responsibility to always keep the client updated. And, great way to do that is set time markers and get used to those time markers, right? So I would say, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right? 3 times a day. Abide by those times. Again, whatever times you want to make, but pick three, stick to them, and let the clients know, right? I'm going to call you around 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m. And you don't have to say that, but, just say, hey, I'm going to, when they drop off the vehicle, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, look for an update from me around 10 a.m. this morning. And again, just to confirm, do you want to email? Do you want to text? Do you want a phone call? What's your preferred communication method there, right? Don't just assume, find out what their preferred communication method is. And when you call them at 10 o'clock to give them the update, congratulations, you've just built credibility. And not only that, but before you end that call, let them know the next time that you're going to update them, right? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, great conversation. I'm going to update you again today at 2 o'clock, right? And the more consistent you are in doing that, it's awesome because there's not a lot of places that do it. And they're going to want to come back to you just because you're doing that. Most places are the black hole of communication. And I say that it's a lot of the dealers, not independent shops. I feel like the independent shops focus more on, the customer in whole. They have more time to do that in the dealership setting. I'm not ragging on the dealers. It's just I was in the dealership life for a while. I updated clients. I actually had a board. I had highlighters, pens, whatever. I was the king of updating people. I pat myself on the back for that. Other people were not. And I was fielding phone calls. I was looking up in the system at that time. The system that we were using at the dealer was called ADP. And you would type in the client's last name or their phone number, and I would quickly find out, okay, this particular person is paired with service advisor Chris, or this person is paired with service advisor Mike, or Bob, or whoever was the service advisor on duty that day aside from me. And 99% of the time it was the other person, and they were saying, well, I haven't heard anything, what's going on in my vehicle? Great question. Let me please put you on a brief hold. I will see if Chris is available, or Bob's available, or John's available, whoever, to get in touch with you and give you an update. So again, let's make sure that we are doing our job to update clients. Imperative, imperative, imperative. But again, the old way, right? We wait for customers to call us for an update, or worse, show up unannounced just to check in. If you've had that happen to you before, I guarantee it's happened once or twice in your career, and it was embarrassing as all get out, because either their car is not made it into the shop yet, and you didn't call them to let them know that, and they pull into the parking lot and they see their car in the parking lot and they assume that it's done. And then you've got to have that great conversation of saying that we haven't even had it in the shop yet, which is not a great conversation. Or they show up again unannounced and their car is up on the lift being worked on, and it's not going to be ready for another 2, 3, 4, 5 hours because, hey, there was a part that we're still waiting for, or something else is going on with the vehicle. But again, getting, when that happens, when they walk in the door and you look at them, you've got that kind of like deer in the headlights look, like you're thinking subconsciously, what are you doing here? Your car's not ready yet. And you know that, but they don't know that because you never called them to tell them that. And that's not a great situation. So please, please please be proactive. Set clear expectations when they drop off the vehicle. Let them know the time that you're going to update them. And then again, once you have that conversation moving forward, update them or tell them the next update that they will receive and stick to that. Do that, please. People that night drop vehicles, super imperative. Call them, let them know, hey, just confirming I received your envelope with the key in it for your night drop, and I'll have an update for you at X time, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, today. Again, just because they dropped it off and they're not there in person doesn't mean that you shouldn't still follow suit and update them. So again, make it a priority. If they've dropped off the car overnight, use the night drop, put the key in there, they got an envelope. Once you pull that out somewhere in the morning routine, call that client and confirm, hey, I have your vehicle, I have your key, I'll update you at this time. Don't just assume because they're not there that you shouldn't update them. So again, proper expectations there. But again, being proactive, setting clear expectations, calling, texting. Again, we don't want them showing up unannounced or calling and finding out that the car is not ready yet, right? That's for us to explain that to them proactively. But yeah, the G.R.O.W mindset, again, getting rid of old ways, it doesn't mean flipping the shop upside down overnight. Again, it's, let's call it, pick one thing at a time. Pick one thing at a time to implement or tweak, and making it that it's better. This thing that we're picking this week to implement or do is going to make it better than last week, right? You don't have to implement 5 or 10 changes the first week. Just one thing, concentrate on it, focus on it, implement it, get everybody on the team on the same page. And once everybody's doing that thing, move to the next thing. But create a list, come up with a list together, things you want to implement to do things differently. And again, it little tweaks, small changes have a big impact, right? And everybody's voice needs to be heard. Yeah, you're going to get that one person that's going to say something that really just either didn't add value to what you're trying to do or is unrealistic, but don't shoot them down, right? Because if they have an idea next time, they're not going to say it because you made them feel inferior, right? Don't do that to a team member. Hear everybody out, put a suggestion box up, whatever you want to call it. But again, small changes lead to big impacts, right? And I guess ultimately, right, a quote that I saw from actually Henry Ford. It says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Again, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Embrace technology, embrace things that are going to make your life easier in the shop as a service advisor, as a technician, working together, right? And again, just implementing new things to increase efficiency, make your job easier, make clients happier. And when you're doing those things that increase your efficiency, it gives you more time to really build that relationship with the client. Get to know them better, get to know what's going on in their world. And yeah, I know we're not psychologists, but to a degree, yeah, as a service advisor, you kind of are, right? It's a multi-role, but again, it gives you more individual time to build that relationship with that client when you've got tools that are working with you. Some of them are going to be AI, again, communication in the shop, the digital vehicle inspections. But yeah, I mean, just, try new things and talk as a team, come up with a list, and just get to it. It's going to make things better for you and the shop, I promise you. But Service Advisor Nation, thank you for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast, and I hope you keep those bays full. And thank you again. All right, see you later.